So Stockholm is today, as I said, a rather quiet place for Stockholmers. Most of the people around us today in the city would be, I'd suggest, would be tourists. And the city is therefore waking up a little bit later here during the day. The street that we're on, Birger Jarlsgatan, very easy, right, to remember. Birger Jarl, however, he was a pretty important man in our history, you see, because he was the strongest man and most powerful man here in the 13th century. And we call him that he was our city founder, you know, the father of Stockholm. Today, with new research, we know that people were living here in this area and on these islands about 1,000 years ago. But we have found a piece of a letter that Mr. Birger Jarl wrote. And you see, he mentioned this place as the city Stockholm, by the name Stockholm for the first time. And the year was 1252. Therefore, we make it a little bit simple in our history books, saying that Stockholm was founded by Birger Jarl 1252. In the old days, this district and the street and the area that we're on right now with the park here to the left was actually a not so fine area. It was quite a smelly part because the people came with their cargo and goods, meaning fish, into Stockholm to different harbors, and that would be one of the parts where they had the fish that they didn't sell, they couldn't sell because of the smell being handed out. And well, it was good for the bird life, right? Yeah, but not for our noses. Well, we're happy that it has been transformed into a nicer place today, huh? Going on the shopping street of Stockholm, the Hamnegatan, the Harbor Street, with the upscale shopping department store NK on our right. NK is this whole building here to the right with all the international flag on the top, on the facade. And it was actually built in the beginning of the 1910s after an American role model. Today it has been transformed into a small shopping galleria with different fashion brands, and you could find almost anything actually there that you find in Harrods and places in London, for instance, and so on. I would say that my daughters, they come home with far too many bags from this street, really, yeah, but I'm happy they have their own budget now. And my wallet is quite happy as well, yeah. Efficient shopping it is on this street. You have another shopping galleria coming up on the left-hand side. And if you were to ask an older Stockholmer what they think about these buildings here left and right, the more modern buildings that were erected here in the 60s and also 70s, they will probably shake their heads saying no. The big house of culture here on the left-hand side, and some of the Stockholm, well, could I say skyscrapers coming up on the right-hand side. Well, this area is very commercial. That was rebuilt totally in the 60s and 70s. So much that the people of Stockholm went out on the street and demonstrated so much. They locked themselves around the trees and demonstrated so much so that the city planners really had to, you know, hold the brake of the new planning. And it was a law here in Stockholm for a couple of decades saying that we are not allowed to build taller buildings than 7-floor buildings. We said that we wanted to have our daylight down to the pavements and streets. Mr. Alfred Nobel and his dynamite, because he made it possible, at least here in Stockholm, among other things, to excavate the mountains and make room for the railroad connecting the southern and the northern railroad here in Stockholm downtown. The Vasagatan is one of the major streets here in downtown city. And Vasa, well, that pops up a little bit everywhere, doesn't it, in our language, and me telling you things. The Vasa ship, for instance. Vasa comes from a king in the 16th century. And in the old Swedish word, that would be Vase. And that would mean a bundle of grain, or a sheaf of grain, you know, a bundle of wheat. And that little sign was, you see, a part of the king's coat of arms in the 16th century. That's why they said it was the Vasa kings. They all had that little bundle of wheat in their coat of arms. And Gustavus Adolphus, who was the king that ordered the Vasa ship to be built, well, he was an ancestor and in the same dynasty of the Vasa kings. So there you have the name connection here in Stockholm. So the island's name, Kungsholmen. Kung is king, Holmen is a small island. So the King's Island. Stockholm, by the way, well, we have many explanations where the name comes from. One of the explanations is that Holm, well, it is an island. Stock, that is actually a log or like a timber. And they had to chop down a lot of trees on the main small island today known to us as Old Town when they first populated the island, and they placed them out around the island as a protection. And that should be, you know, the name of the Long Island, Stockholm. Kungsholmen right now is quite busy of tourists around the city hall, of course. And Anders is going to find us a place where we can be dropped off. And this will be also the place for us to go off for the first time and go in for an inside visit. We do a couple of stops outside first, and then we will go inside.
Here's a tip. If Lena talks here and you can't hear, just come behind her so we can hear.
Yes, well, I'm going to try to use the same voice when I speak to my daughter.
So the City Hall of Stockholm, yes. Why did we highlight that? Well, the home of our politicians of the city of Stockholm, indeed, but also because it has become one of the landmarks of Stockholm and Sweden also, for that matter. But I have to tell you also that it was a very big debate of how and why and where this was supposed to be located. As they started to plan it about, a little bit more than 100 years ago, actually in the beginning of the 20th century. And they discussed over having a city hall outside the city. Because in those days, you know, Stockholm was much smaller. And it was considered to be only the old town that was really the place for a city hall. Well, finally, a windmill that was placed on this very spot caught on fire and went down, and they had a good property. The architect, he was very clever, so he quickly made the city buy it and saying that this is a good bargain for you. Let's build up the new city hall right on this spot. Okay, they said. So the construction time of the city hall here is 12 years, 1911 to 1923. Some people say it took them such a long time to build it because the industrial building on the other side here on the South Island, can you see that? Over there, the brickstone building with the chimney. Yeah? It used to be a beer brewery. Yeah, you know where I'm coming to, right? Well, the fact was that the manager at the beer brewery felt so sorry for all the workers having long, tiring work days here. So he shipped over free beer to them. It just might have slowed them down a bit. Then what we do know now is really that why it took such a long time officially at least, was that the architect, he was a perfectionist. So he wanted everything to be just perfect. If he saw something being built up the way that he had planned it, on the papers, that he didn't like, he made the workers take it down again and making it up in another version. Right? So yeah, that's mainly why it took such a long time. The architect's name, by the way, is super duper easy Swedish name to remember, Ragnar Östberg. Right out. He won a contest with a totally different model, actually, than what this turned out to be. The City Hall is located right by one of the two waters here in Stockholm, the Mälaren Lake. So this is not anymore the Baltic, which is placed on the eastern side. This would be on the western side, the Lake Mälaren, right? And you have the big South Island that we're going to see on our continuing panoramic tour as well. Now, the City Hall where we're standing is like the outer piazza. The architects love Italian Renaissance palaces. You're going to experience that a little bit on the inside as well. You have the arcades here, for instance, right? And there's a bit of the same Vasa that I told you about. Now, he started to use them as Swedish symbols from the 16th century. Extremely important that they've tightened the nails, because each crown is as large as a car. Wow. Yes. I don't know if you heard about our yesterday's thunder shower we had in Stockholm. Yeah. I usually think of those then. I say, I hope that the maintenance bureau is doing their thing. Also, the tower was extremely important. It had 106 meters tall. That meant that we beat the Danes with 1 meter, you see. That's very important, I guess. Yeah. But it is a nice lookout point. What we are going to do now is to go inside. You are having your little stickers on. Follow us with a little number E here.
No, thank you. Skateboard?
Is that a motion, Kenny?